Okay, good morning. It's Dr. Heilige Mishnah on Daf Kuf Amud Bet 100b, second Mishnah on the page. Hazirik min hayam liyabasha umin hayabasha liyam. Umin hayam, if someone throws something from the ocean to the dry land, from the dry land to the ocean, or umin hayam listvina, or from the ocean to the ship, or from the ship to the ocean, or from the ship to its friend, which means another ship, patur. In all those cases, you're going to be patur. It's going to be asur, prohibited in the Rabbanan, but you're going to be patur. Why patur? Because the yam has a din as a caramelist. Yesterday we mentioned why it's not a Rishut Rabim. It doesn't look like the Rishut Rabim even though there's many people in it's wide, it doesn't look like many reasons. The Achrayim bring different reasons why it's not doime, it's not similar to the Rishut Rabim of the Midbar. It's not easy to walk, easy to travel there. If you're able to walk, it doesn't look like, fine. There's many reasons. Why isn't it Rishut Yachid? We said that there's always a slope going down. The riverbank, the ocean, goes 10 tefachim deep. So really you're like in a pit. And we said that the mayim is not mevatel the mechitzas of the bar. It doesn't ruin the bar. Right? Because you throw things in, it will hit the bottom. So why does the water ruin the pit of the ocean? And let that pit be 10 tefachim deep. So the normal answer is because the 10 tefachim of that wall only slopes down to 10 tefachim after you reach 4 amas. Which means it's not a steep incline. It goes straight down. It's very gradual. It takes more than 4 amas. So if it takes more than 4 amas, we say that that's part of just the ground, because it's nichat hashmishte. Meaning, if you're in a Rishut Rabim, and there's the Rishut Rabim suddenly rises, like this, and then it goes back down, people will walk on it. So therefore we consider it part of the Rishut Rabim. It's only if the incline of 10 tvachim is so steep suddenly that people will not want to walk up on that thing, then we consider that top as a different Rishut. Same thing with the walls around the ocean, the river bank and the Yabasha. Those walls, the sea walls, since they go gradual, they don't constitute real walls of 10 tefachim, and therefore you don't really have walls around the ocean. What happens if you have a river that does have such a thing? Then maybe it is considered midaraisa rishus hayachid. Other reasons that Rishonim say is because the water doesn't really care about the walls. It rushes through with waves and a river, so it's not really. It's not good. It's mevatel mechitzas. It's another reason. It's mevatel mechitzas. Okay. Anyways, it's not a real rishus hayachid. And it's not a real Rishus Rabim. So what is it? It's a Karmelit. Meaning really it would be Makom Petur, and the Chacham said it's a Karmelit. So you're not allowed to carry in the Yam. From the Yam to the Yabotcha to the dry land, from the dry land to the Yam, to Rishut Yachid, to Rishut Karmelit, or Karmelit to Karmelit. They mean over here the Yabasha to Rishus Harabim here, right? Yabasha is not Rishus Yachid; it's Rishus Harabim, right? And from the Yam to the Svina, from the Svina to the Yam, the Svina we're talking about is 10 tefachim deep, the actual ship, and 4 tefachim wide, 4x4. So those who have a din of a Rishut Yachid, so it's also you can't do it from a Karmelit to Rishut Yachid or vice versa. And from 2 ships to each other, it's also going to be patur because it's a karmelit, but it's going to be astur. Okay, now, ksvinot kshurot zu bezu metaltlin mizu lezu. If two ships are tied to each other, then you're allowed to carry from one to the other, as long as you don't have a space of 4 tfachim between the two ships. Okay? So, because it's a reshut yachid to reshut yachid without a karmelit in between. Now, if you say, what's the chidush of that? Of course I could do reshut yachid. Reshut yachid. The chidush is that even if it belongs to two separate people, the Gemara is going to say later on, and the Gemara is going to say later on, they're talking about two different people which you need a eruv. Okay? And the Gemara is going to say, we're talking about that they made an eruv. So what's the chidush? The chidush is that we allow them to make an eruv. Why? Because look at the next case. But if they're not tied, even if they're right next to each other, since they are prone to move away from each other 4 amot, it's 8 feet, that's what's going to happen. The natural water the water will naturally drift them apart. Therefore, even if they're not, they can't make an eruv. Can't say, well, we made an eruv together, eruv chaterot, so now our chaterot are one. Because what's going to happen is that you can have an issue, because if you're going to make an eruv, you can say, oh, I'm allowed to carry from you to you because we're close by. And then the water's going to get in between. For one, that's a karmelit. So then you can't go through the karmelit. Therefore, if they're not tied, even if they're right next to each other, mamish touching like this, we're worried that they're going to separate, there's going to be a karmelit in between them, and therefore you're not allowed to make an eruv and carry. Itmar, says the Gemara, Svina. Okay, so you're on a ship. I don't know.
Maybe
you're on a ship. Thank you. You want to draw water from the river. You want to drink. It's clean, right? You want water. What do? So we have a problem here. The svina is reshut yachid. The yam is a karmelit. So how can I draw water from the karmelit into the reshut yachid? So svina Rav Huna Omar mitziyin meno ziz kolshu umimale. What you do is like this. You put out like a little flag, a little stick sticking out of the ship. Is it? What's that? It's just a simon. It's a little stein. Make yourself a little stein to remind yourself something. And then everything's fine? What do you mean? It's a karmelit. How can I carry? We'll see soon. Because Rav Huna doesn't hold that there's a real issue. He holds that the whole issue in the Mishnah is really just as a geder, just gzerah d'Rabbanan. They're worried, but really there's no issue in carrying from the ocean to the ship. Therefore, the Mishnah doesn't allow it until you make. You know what the Mishnah means? We don't allow it until you do something. You have to do something. Once you do something, it's all good. Why? We'll see in a minute. Rav Chizda Rabbi Rav Huna Amri. No. There's real issues in the ocean and in the river. There's real issues. It's a real karmelit. There's no games, and therefore the only way you want to draw water, the only eitzah is oisem mikoy marba umimali. You have to create a little box that's 4x4. Now it has little mechitzot, and you put those mechitzot over the water. Now that you put them over the water, you're drawing from the reshut hayachid, because those mechitzot, as if they're as if they sink down. Those mechitzot, we render those mechitzot as if they went straight down into the water. So in the spot inside those mechitzot that you draw water, you're drawing from Reshut Yachid straight up into Reshut Yachid. So you have to create the Reshut Yachid in the water. Otherwise, you are drawing water from a Carmelit into Reshut Yachid, which is an Issa D'Rabbanan. Little signs on the side of your ship don't help. What does a sign help? You're carrying from Reshut Carmelit. So the Gemara explains now this Sferot. Ravuna Omar, Moitzi Hemenu Ziz Kolshu. You let a little bolt, a little thing stick out of the ship, Umemale, Kostovetz, because he holds Carmelit Me'aro Mashchinon. Where is the Carmelit start from? This area, this pit, we're going to call it a pit, this river bed. This river is it's like a little, goes down, and there's water inside of it. Where does it begin, this area that's a Carmelit? It begins from the bottom of the ocean, from the bottom of the riverbed, by the riverbed. The Avira, and any airspace, it doesn't just mean airspace, it means any space. Okay, we know that a Carmelit is like a Reshut Rabim in regards to how high it can be. Reshut Yachid goes up to the heavens. But Reshut Rabim, only 10 Tfachim. Carmelit also, only 10 Tfachim. Okay, because remember that the Chachamim gave the law of a Carmelit as if it was a Reshut Rabim. That's why you can't carry 4 Amot inside of it. You can do that in Reshut Yachid. They didn't give a Carmelit the laws of Reshut Yachid. They gave it the din of Reshut Rabim. Reshut Rabim only extends 10 Tfachim high. So too, the Carmelit, this is the river bed right here on the bottom, on the floor. So it only goes up 10 Tfachim. Now your ship now is higher than 10 Tfachim. So the water that you're going to be drawing out of is higher than 10 Tfachim. It's a Makom Patur. It's 100% mutar. But the Mishnah says you're not allowed to do it. Oh, because you didn't put a sign. Because if you put a little sign, because if you don't put a little geder, then uvidinu diziz nami lo liboy, says the Gemara. In the real din, the real halacha, diziz nami lo liboy. You don't really need a little stick sticking out of your ship. Okay, it's 100% mutar. Ella ki heichid lehava lehekera. The Chachamim required him to do so that he has a heker. So he doesn't come to actually draw water from a real Carmelis to Reshut Yachid. Okay? Now, what are we worried about? Like, let's say you have a Carmelit, let's say you have a pit, a bar, for example, that's 3 Tfachim deep. Okay, so it's not considered, there's no loved to the ground, that way, coming from down. But it's not 4 Tfachim wide. No, it's 3 Tfachim deep, and it's not 4 Tfachim wide. So what is halacha? It's a Carmelit. So are you allowed to draw from there? Is that a Carmelit? Second, it's 3 Tfachim wide. It's not 4 by 4, so it's a Makom Patur, for example. So are you allowed to draw from there? You're allowed to draw water from there. Why? Because it's a Makom Patur. Why don't the Chacham say, oh, you have to put a little flag sticking out of the bar? Because everybody knows that that's a Makom Patur. It's very clear. But the problem is in the ocean, where everybody knows that it is a Carmelit, and they don't understand that the Carmelit only extended 10 Tfachim, but you're on the 20 Tfachim. So therefore, what you're doing is really not an issue. There people will get mixed up. And once they see you drawing from a yam into the boat, oh, they're going to say, wow, that man is a rabbi. Oh, look at him. He knows the laws of Shabbat, and he's carrying from a Carmelit into Reshut Yachid. I guess there's no issue. You can always go from a Carmelit to Reshut Yachid. So therefore, they put a little siman, so that, look, so that people say, why do you have that flag? Every time you want to draw water, you put out that flag. I'll tell you why I put that flag. So you should ask me that question. So I should tell you that really the only reason why I'm allowed to do it is because I'm above 10. But if you're in a regular, normal Carmelit, you're not allowed to carry from a Carmelit to Reshut Yachid. Fine. But really, there's no issues. According to Rav Huna, there's no issues. And the issues in the Mishnah are only because you didn't put that flag and we're worried that you're going to mix it up with a real Carmelit to Reshut Yachid. But for Rav Chizda, for Rabbi Huna, Amri, no way. You have to make this little makeshift mechitzot, put it into the water, and draw water out of it. Why? Because they hold Carmelit misvat mayo mashrinon. The Carmelit is, you know where the Carmelit is from? From the edge of the water. Why? Because the water is aras michta. We view the water like a thick, like the earth. The riverbed just keeps going all the way up to the top of the water. And the Carmelit only begins now. It begins here, 10 tefachim. And therefore, it doesn't only begin now, meaning in the water is all Carmelit, because it's all the earth of the Carmelit. And it extends another 10 tefachim above the water. Okay? So Yiloi Ovid Makim Arba Kometaltim V'Karmelis Reshut. So if you don't create this little Reshut Yachid, which will extend downwards into the water, and that in that area of 4x4, under that little cage, a little box, through that box without a bottom, it will be Reshut Yachid. Without that, you're drawing water from a Carmelit into the ship, which is Reshut Yachid. It's Asur Midrabanan. Okay? This seems to be the halacha, that we can't just put out a flag. You have to actually make this like the shitot that are machmir over here. In most cases. And the reason why they said that the entire river is considered a Carmelit, why didn't they just start from the bottom of the river, like Rav Huna said, and only extend it 10 tefachim high, is because they said it's different than a pit in the ground that's 10 tefachim deep and has water, which we say the bottom is Reshut Yachid, and the water doesn't ruin it, right? The water is there, but the bottom is the beginning of the Reshut Yachid. So the answer is because widow people do most of their tashmishim, the usages on water, is with ships above the water. And since that's where people use this area, right, because they float on top of the water, the ship, therefore they wanted to consider the Carmelit all the way up to the top of the water, and only from there on another 10 tefachim. Fine. So the Gemara asks, okay, Omar le Rav Nachman le Rabbi Baravua, ul Rav Huna do Omar Moitzi Meno is kol shu umimale zimnin tileko asoro. According to Rav Huna, that says that you're allowed to what? Just put out that flag, because Rav Huna again holds that you're not really carrying from a Carmelit, because the area that you're drawing the water out of is already a makom petur, because the Carmelit ended by the 10 tefachim point from the bottom, from the riverbed 10 tefachim. But we're just worried that people won't understand that, so you just put it out. So he asks, Zindileko astoro, sometimes, if the water is very shallow, then you'll be carrying straight from a real Carmelit to a Reshut Yachid. So how would Rav Huna be so comfortable letting you know that you always just put out the flag? He should also require this thing sometimes. So Amalei Gamrinon, because we have a Kabbalah, the Ein Tzvino Mehaleches B'Pochas Me'asora. Ships, large ships, don't go in waters that are less than 10 tefachim. Okay, so therefore you can always assume that the water around the ship, around the hull of the ship, is 10 tefachim deep, once it's 10 tefachim deep, at least 10 tefachim deep, more. So what you're drawing out of is a makom petur. Just for people that won't understand that, you put this little thing out, so that it reminds a person that he doesn't just have his heter always, and he always has to ask. Okay. It says the Gemara v'hamorsha islay. There's one part of the boat. The morsha is like we had it 2 days ago by the rack. There's something that sticks out, which means the nose of the ship. I think they call it the prow of the ship. That extends really high up, and that doesn't really sit in the water, right? So since it doesn't sit in the water that much, so that part is not sitting in the water. So if that part doesn't sit in the water, that part might be over with what? Very shallow water. You told me that the hull of the ship won't go in such waters. Yeah, but the top part, since it doesn't really go in the water, it's very, very, that nose that extends upwards, it's much higher. Maybe that will be over a part of the water that is not 10 tefachim deep. And Rav Huna is really allowing any part of the ship. You could stand anywhere you want. You could be on the top over there, by the nose of the ship, and still draw water. Now, that part of the ship might be over waters that are very shallow, which would be a real carmelit issue. So how does he allow one to draw water from anywhere on the ship with just that little stick sticking out of as a siman? The sailors always go ahead of the ship, and they're always checking the depth of the waters with their sticks and whatever. They have these very, very long sticks, and they know how to measure. It's like when you measure your oil, right? The oil stick. And they're always making sure that the waters ahead of the ship are 10 tefachim deep. And therefore, you can rely that they're going to make sure that even the prow of the ship is not going to continue on into waters that are less than 10 tefachim. It's going to be more than 10 tefachim, and therefore, you're always going to be drawing out from makom petur, and that's why they allowed you with this siman. Okay. Only Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok Rav Chia bar Oven. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok said to Rav Chia bar Oven, L'Rav Chisto, L'Rabba bar Rav Huna, De'amri, Oyisem v'koyim abo mimale. Now we're going to ask kashas on the other mandavar. So what are they doing? You're making this little area of 4x4, and that's the way you draw water. Because when you put that into the water, it's considered like it extends downwards, and now everything that you draw out of that hole is Reshut HaYachid, down into the riverbed, down into the river, all the way extend. So everything is Reshut HaYachid, it's all beautiful. The problem is, where is he going to throw his water, his wastewater? When they wash all their dishes, they have dirty water on the ship. Where are they going to throw the wastewater? You can't throw the wastewater over deck. Why not? It's Shabbat. You're in a Reshut HaYachid. The water, according to these Manda Omrim, the Rav Chizda and Rabbi bar Rav Huna is what? The water is a carmelit. So you're carrying from the shteyachit to the carmelit. So maybe you throw the waters out through that hole that you made. So the Gemara says, but if you do that, then you're going to be disgusted to draw water back through that same hole. Now, I didn't understand.
Where the hole is?
No. Is it because Hold on a second. I'm not sure. What did I just ask you? Sorry. What did I just ask you?
You weren't sure. You just said, but I asked you where the hole is situated in this situation. You're making this 4x4
Yeah.
on the ship?
Over the ship.
On the side of the ship.
The side of the ship. So now, I'm not sure if the problem is that I don't think the issue is that the waters, since it's the exact same spot, so now you're going to be drawing waters from the same spot in the ocean, but you just threw the dirty waters. That's not the problem, because you could just, 3 minutes you'll do it when your ship is somewhere else. The problem is that you associate. This is like the hole where we throw everything out, and now you're going to get fresh water through this hole. I think that's the problem. So the Gemara says the shadil who adapted the sin, and we never heard. See, obviously, you might say, okay, fine, so make yourself another one, but they didn't say you have to make two. So they must have had a different eitzah, says the Gemara. So the Gemara says the shadilu adafna the svina. What you do is you pour the water, the dirty waters, on the walls of the svina, far away from the area that you draw the clean, fresh water, so you won't get disgusted by it. And the water will run down to the ocean. Okay? So what you're really doing is you're pouring it onto Reshut HaYachid. Because the walls, you turn it on the top of the wall, you let it run down. So now it runs down from the Reshut HaYachid Karmelit, but it's not with your koach. So the Gemara says, Va'ika koichai. So it's not direct, but it's koach at least. Meaning, I said it's not your koach, it's your koach, but it's not you directly. But the Gemara says, but it's at least your koach. So therefore, at the end of the day, how's it getting there? You're not allowed to carry even through indirect, through your koach. The Mishnah in Erevin says, you're not allowed to spill water in your private backyard into a pipe that will carry that water into Rishut Rabim. You say, wait, if I would just pour it here without the pipe being round and running down, it wouldn't get there. So I didn't really pour it into Rishut Rabim. The pipe took it. But still, the halacha is that since it comes from your koyach, you're not allowed to do such a thing. So how does it help? So the Gemara says, Koch o bekarmed et logos. If there's an isim in Torah like the Mishnah in Erevin to go from Reshut HaYachid to Reshut Rabim, so there the Chachamim prohibited even the iser of koyach. But here it's just the iser of karmelit, and therefore it's only an iser de Rabbanan, according to these two man da'amrim, that the ocean is a karmelit, even above 10. Says the Gemara, therefore it's not an issue. So the Gemara says, and how do I know to say such a thing that the Chachamim never made an issue of kocho? If it's not an Isser D'Oraita, says the Gemara, Titan Yosvino, Emetaltin Loi Mitoich Liyom, Veloi Menayam Nisoyecho. The Svino, it has mechitzos that are Sarot Tvachim, and it's a Reshut HaYachid, you're not allowed to carry from it to the Yam. And not from the Yam to it. Rabbi Yehuda made Amuko Asorom. If the ship is 10 tefachim deep, but the ein givoya asoro, but it's not 10 tefachim above the water, which means the walls of the ship are not. They're submerged into the water because of the weight down into the 10. You're allowed to carry from the ocean into it, but not from it into the ocean, but not from the ocean to it. So the Gemara says, why? What's the difference? Why didn't Rabbi Yehuda allow from the ocean inside of it the because you're going from a Mekarmelis to a Shutei Yachid. So, what about the opposite way? It should be the same thing. Elolav, so it must be that when Rabbi Yehuda said you're allowed to go from the ship, you're allowed to carry something from the ship itself into the Yam. He was talking about Elolav Achuda. He was pouring it on the edge of the walls. And the wall, and now it ran down the walls into the ocean. Ushmamino, koiche bekarmelis legozu. Shmamino. Therefore, you're allowed to go from it into the ocean because there's a way of doing that will be called kocho. And therefore we learn that you're allowed to go from you're allowed to do koiche. Now, says the Gemara, Omer Avuno, Hani Bitzota de Meshan. You have these little tiny ships, not ships, they're like little boats. And they're very narrow. They're like canoes from this river of Meshan. And they're really wide on top. But what happens is on the bottom, they get very narrow. And they penetrate, they go down into the water. They go deep down into the water, and the bottom is the bottom is very narrow. So the Gemara says Rav Huna. Now this is Rav Huna, the one that said that you can be very makel, because he says anything above the 10 mark is already a makom petur. We just make a little sign. So Rav Huna said, but Rav Huna himself says, "Ei metalteln behen ela be'aba." Which means you could only carry inside of them, inside these ships themselves, less than 4 amot. You can't carry something from one area to the other area on the ship. If you're holding a cup, you can't walk from one side of this boat to the other side of the boat if it's more than 4 amot. Because the boat itself doesn't have a din of Reshut Yachid. Even though the boat is a container that is 10 tefachim deep and 4 tefachim wide, but the bottom of that container is not 4 tefachim wide. Okay? So therefore, what you really have is you have an area that's like a box that's 10 tefachim and 4 tefachim wide. Oh, so you have that box, it's Reshus HaYachid. But then it gets narrow on the bottom. So you have a mechitza of Reshus HaYachid that's like hanging above you. It's called the mechitza that's tluya ba'avir. Okay, mechitza tluya, it's a hanging mechitza. And that won't help you. Now we're going to see why that doesn't help you in a second. That's only if the first 3 tefachim on the bottom of the ship are not 4 tefachim wide. And it only becomes 4 tefachim wide above those 3 tefachim. But aval yesh b'pachas mishloisha abba, if somewhere on the bottom 3 tefachim of those beitzata demeshan, there's already 4 tefachim wide, let lamba, we don't have a problem because of lavud. And we say, since the mechitzot, the partitions of this Reshut HaYachid, that's what you're really creating. You're creating walls. Go down to the less than 3 points. So then they extend downward to the bottom of the ship as well. And therefore the whole ship is a nice, beautiful Reshut Yachid, and you can carry inside the ship as much as you want. And the whole problem over here that he's speaking about is only when the first 3 tfachim, 1, 2, 3, which is 12 inches, the first foot about 12 inches of the ship are not 4 tfachim wide. Then you have an issue because everything above it is Reshut Yachid, but the bottom is not. We'll see in a second. Now, not only that, imalinu koni v'ubani, less number. And if you fill the bottom of the ship with all sorts of mats and reeds and all sorts of things, until you fill it up, and now you elevated the floor until a spot that's actually 4 tefachim wide by 4 tefachim wide. So then you're in a Reshut Yachid. Fine. So what is the basis of Rav Huna's din? Is that a mechitza teluya, a partition that it's hanging above, won't be matir the area beneath it. Okay? So the Gemara asks a kasha on that. Matkif l'Rav Nachman, the lema good achit mechitza. Why don't we say good achis? Good achis means literally good, pull, achis down, mechitza the mechitza. There's a rule. Miloi Tanya, didn't we learn in a Braita, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Omer, and he brings it in regards to Shabbat. Listen to this case. Noat kone b'shut rabim. Someone wedged a reed, a very thin stick that's not 4 by 4 tefachim, into the Reshut Rabim. Okay? Uverosho, this is all Erev Shabbat, let's say. Uverosho, and on the top of the reed, traskel, he attached like a basket, but the basket was 4 by 4. And not only now, the basket is not 10 tefachim high. Okay? So, but it's sitting on top of an area that's 10 tefachim high. So v'zorak v'nochal gabov chayiv. Someone threw something from the Reshut Rabim, and it lands on top in that basket, you're chayiv. Why? Because you just carried a zrika from Reshut Rabim to Reshut Yachid. Says the Gemara, but why? Why? The mechitzot themselves are not 10 tefachim. The walls of the basket are not 10 tefachim. So it must be Alman being a good achit mechitzta. We see the mechitzot of the traskel as if they themselves go down to the ground, and they surround that stick that they are sitting on. And since the width of the traskel of the basket is 4 by 4, so now it's considered like you're surrounded by walls that are 10 tefachim high. Okay? Okay, so the Gemara answers, "Hachanami name a good achit." So the Gemara says, so the Gemara is asking, "Hachanami name a good achis mechitzta." Let's say good achis. Now, good morning. So the Gemara says, "Masechet Rav Yosef."
Daf Yomi?
Yeah.
Brachot?
Shabbat. Yeah.
Brachot finished already?
100 days ago.
Wow, I forgot. What?
Exactly 100 days ago, we made this here.
Hasidim is giving the Daf Yomi?
No.
No.
Maybe on the computers, but I don't know if I'm not sure.
That was the last week, no.
So the Gemara asks, okay, Maskal Rav Yosef. So you're asking a kasha. Rav Nachman is asking a kasha on Rav Huna. Rav Huna said you don't say good achas mechitzta, right? So Rav Nachman says, why don't you say good achas mechitzta? Why are you not allowing the people to carry in that ship? It should be a reshut yachid, because you have a mechitza teluya, you have a hanging mechitza. You pull it down. That's the law. The law is that Hashem said it gets pulled down. So Rav Yosef asks on this kasha, on Rav Nachman, he asked a question on his question. Haven't you heard the halacha that they brought on that breita that you just mentioned? Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says that if someone throws something onto that basket, he's going to be chayav. So you're right, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda holds that is, we say good achid. But the Chacham say potter. You don't say good achas mechitzta. Okay? So therefore here also we shouldn't say that mechitzas tluyos should go down. So why are you so upset with that, Rav Huna? Amalei Abaye ve'atlei tizbira. So Abaye said to Rav Yosef, wait, you're trying to argue with Rav Nachman's kasha on Rav Huna. Because of the Chacham, you don't hold like that? You don't hold that we say good achis? Ve'otamyo, we learned in a brayso, another brayso. Amud b'rishus harab. Govei asara v'rochav rabo. You have an amud. Amud, it's like a real beam, it's 4x4 and it's 10 tefachim high in the Rishut Rabim. Ve'ein bi'ikaro arba'ah. But on the bottom of it, it's very thin, it's not 4. Only on the above, on the top part. Ve'yesh ba'katzar shelo shlosha. And the bottom part that is not 4x4 is 3 high. See, there's no lavud tricks over here. You say, oh, just ignore it. Because it goes up 3, and only after 3 does it get wider. Vizdorak, and you threw v'noch al gabov, and it lands on top of that amud chayav. You're chayav? So you see, Alma Amrin on good achas mechitzta. So you see that you do say good achas mechitzta. So chanami good achas mechitzta. Here too, you should say good achas mechitzta. Abaye says this is a better braita because this braita is going to for everybody. Okay? And you brought a proof from the Chachamim in the last braita, midi area. And the fact that you brought a proof from the Chachamim that say a patur from the last braita, that's not a comparison. Why? Because hatam, in regards to the case with the basket on the top of the stick, you know why the Chachamim say you don't say good achas mechitzta? Because havele mechitzta she'agdoyim boikim ba. Because where do you want this mechitzta to go down? You look. Imagine you have a stick, very thin stick, and then you have this large basket. It's much larger than this because it's maybe 4. Not much, but so now you want the mechitza of this basket on top to just continue going down, right? You have a big problem. You know why? Because you can't look at it like a real mechitza. Because a mechitza means a partition which protects a domain. But gedi and baikimba, it's very nice, magical trick, but it doesn't work if all the animals could get underneath here. And why could they get underneath? Because the stick is very thin. It's everywhere over here. They can walk. They don't know about this. They don't know about this magical thing. The gedi walks right under it. So that's why any mechitza that the gedi can get through, we don't say good achis. That's why the Chacham argue with Rabbi Yehuda. But if you have a real amud that's 4x4, and only the bottom part is less than 4x4, so once you say good achis, the Balei Chaim are not going to walk under that part and scratch themselves on the bottom part. So they're not going to come through because, like, don't compare this to the case of sukkah, which we had the other day. Because sukkah, they can walk right through. If it's a three, go into your sukkah. But here, there's nowhere to go because they'll be sitting under this amud. So where are they going? So therefore, they're not going to walk under it, and therefore, we are going to say good achas mechitzta. And that's why Rav Nachman's kasha to Rav Huna by the Bitzata Demation is a very good kasha. We're back to the problem here. So So Abaye is excited about the kasha. He's saying, let's say good achis mechitzta. And let's say that box of the ship continues going downwards into the water. So even on the lowest part of the ship, those 3 tefachim, or more than 3 tefachim, that don't have 4x4, we should still allow you to walk in that area and carry things, because you say good achas mechitzta. So the Gemara says, oh, so you're excited about the kasha? So Rav Acha B'Rei Rav Ashi, but Gabi Tzvina Nami Ha'ikar B'Kiyas Dogim. But you have the fish that are swimming underneath. The fish don't know about this trick, so they're bekeya. So that breaks through the whole mechitzah and says you can't say good achas mechitzah. So what's the problem? So Rav Huna is right. Rav Ashi said no. The kash is right because bekiyas dogim lo yishme bekiya. Since you don't see the fish, we don't consider that a penetration of any sort of animal. Okay, and therefore, Abaye doesn't like it, and Abaye wants to say good achas mechitzta. Rav Huna, on the other hand, and Rav Yosef, they hold that bekiyas dogim is considered a real infiltration or whatever, an interruption from the dogim, and therefore they say you don't say good achas mechitzta, and therefore you have a problem. Says the Gemara, umenat teimra, and who told you such a thing? That you could say such a thing, that Abaye is able to say. How could Rav Ashi say that Bekiyas Dogim is not a Bekiyah? The Bominate of Tavla Mirav. Because Reb Tavla asked from Rav Mechitza Tzluya, Mao Shetate B'Churba. If you have a Mechitza that's hanging in the air, 3 tefachim or more above the ground, and you have a churba. What's a churba? A churba is a dilapidated or destroyed home. And you want to create a Rishus HaYochid. And so what you do is, you make this little mechitza teluya around it. And because the problem is that the walls it's a dilapidated, it's a broken home. So the bottom part of the wall got penetrated through. So you make this little box from the higher up, and they consider it like it goes down. Mechitza teluya is good achis. V'amalei ein mechitza teluya materes elo b'mayim. Only in regards to drawing water. Kalu shekilu chacham b'mayim. They made a special heter to draw water only, but you don't usually say good achas mechitzta. Amai. And so Rav Ashi says ve'amai. And how could they say it by water? So you must say that dogim is not called a bikiyah, because every time a person wants to draw water from somewhere beneath his window, the Chachamim said that you're allowed to create some sort of hole, and you draw your bucket through. And what you do is you have a board that's 4x4 and a box, and on the bottom of the box you make a hole, and you put your pail through that large hole down into the river, right? Let's say you live in Venice. Those places, there's water beneath. You want to draw some water. from your second floor window. So you drop the bucket through the box into the water. Now the box doesn't go down into the waters. It's a mechitza teluya. But what happens is that the mechitza teluya continues downwards. They allowed you to do it. Why? How could they allow you to do such a thing? Every time there's fish going through, the fish don't know. The fish say, I don't feel any wall going down over here. We just go right through. So you see here that Bekiyas Dogav is not called the Bekiyah. Fine. Says the Gemara now.
We have to make this box before Shabbat, yeah?
Yeah. For a lot of reasons. For the creating of the box, for the creating of the Rishut HaYachid. All sorts of things, yeah. You know how to make Rishut HaYachid. And if it started off not as Rishut HaYachid, it has a problem on Shabbos also. If it started Shabbos, Shabbos started off like that. The Gemara in Sukkah, and they made the mechitzas to carry the Sefer Torah. Yeah, you have to make it before Shabbos. Okay, Svinas Kshuras Zu B'Zu. So the Mishnah said that what? That you're allowed to carry from one ship to the other ship if you tie them together. Says the Gemara's Pshita. It's Pashut. Of course, the two Rishut HaYachids. Why can't I carry from one to the other? Bitzitz Shebineim. We're talking about if you have a little tiny ship, like a little rowboat, and you want to carry through that rowboat that's stuck in between the two, but it's not tied to them. And they're only attached. You see, they're like this, and they have this little boat in between them. So the problem is like this, that if this boat, which is not tied to them, will drift, this little rowboat will drift away, you'll have an area of Carmelis in between. You'll have a problem. So the chiddush is that we're not worried about that. Okay? As long as the bitzis is between them, we have no problem. Amalei Rav Safra. So Rav Safra told to Rava, Moshe was a way of calling them like great rabbi. Shapir Kamris. Are you saying a nice pshat in our Mishnah? It's not talking about that there's a third ship in between the two. It doesn't say, it says Mizul Zu. Elo Amar Rav Safra Nitzucha. We're speaking about is Elo La'orev Talta Mizul Zu. We're talking about two different people own the ships. And you actually have an Isser D'Rabbanon to carry from one Rishus HaYachid to the other Rishus HaYachid until you make an Erev Chatzeros. And what the Erev Chatzeros does is we consider it as if the two Rishuyot are one. And the halacha that the Mishnah is teaching us is that the halachas of Erev apply to ships as well. If not for that, we would have said that maybe the Chacham said Erev Chatzeros only by Batim or Chatzerot, which don't move around. But not in ships which are going to move around, Tosfot says. Okay? There's other reasons also why I would have thought that they didn't work together. Okay? And like we learned in a Braita. If they're tied, you can make an Eruv, the Braita says clearly, and Metatl. Nifsiku, once they're not tied, because it's snapped. Nesru, that you're not allowed to make, you're not allowed to be metaltal, the Erev becomes bottle. Chazu v'nikshiru, bein shogigin, ubein mezidin. If they got tied again, whether it was shogig or whether it was mezid, even though you weren't allowed to tie it again. Bein anusin, bein mutin. Or whether they were forced, or they just made a mistake, they were trying to tie something else, and by mistake they tied the two boats together. Chozru le'ateir narishon, the Erev that was made initially before Shabbat gets resurrected and it works again. Okay? V'chein machzalis aprusas l'shus harab. This is it. If you have these curtains, these mats that were spread out, before Shabbat, and you made an area into Reshut HaYachid, like curtains, me'arvin metaltem izuluzu. And everybody has these like little private areas that they surrounded with curtains. You can be ma'arev and be metaltem from one to the other. And therefore, niglulu, nesru. But once they get rolled up on Shabbat, they get all, entangled and ruined. Now the erev is batal. Chazru v'nifristu. But if they get spread, you spread them again around your area. It doesn't matter how it happened. They go back to the first heter. Any mechitza that's done on Shabbat is considered a mechitza. So you asked me a minute ago, are you allowed to make a mechitza? The answer is you're not allowed to make it on Shabbat, but if it happens, it's called a mechitza, and therefore, it's going to be okay. But what do you see over here? So you see that the Braita over here was referring to the heter of the ships with an eruv. Asked the Gemara, Eini, is that true? V'ha'omer Rav Nachman lo yishonu elo lizdrek, aval taltel osir. Over here in the Braita it says, you're allowed to carry inside of them. But how could you say such a thing, says the Gemara? Rav Nachman said that mechitzas that are made on Shabbos there are only considered mechitzas to be considered the area to Reshut HaYachid, lizrek, which means that midoraita, if you throw something from Reshut Rabim into those areas, you'll be chayav. Because midoraita, since that area became Reshut HaYachid again on Shabbat, whether you did it on purpose, whether you were allowed to, whether you weren't allowed to, whether someone else did it, aval taltel osir, but they still kept their iser, okay? But the Chachomim still kept the iser to carry 4 amot in that area. Because since the mechitzot were made on Shabbat, and that's an isur, they don't want people doing such a thing. So they got very strict, and they said, if you do it, you're not going to be able to carry inside. That's exactly why people did it. People didn't do it so that they could become chayav if they throw from Reshut Rabim into that area. They weren't trying to make problems with us to get themselves killed. They were trying, they said, whoa, the thing fell apart. Put it back together, otherwise we're not going to be able to carry here. So Chacham said, you're not allowed to put it back together. Yeah, whatever. So they just did it. So Chacham said, if you do it, it won't help you. But the problem is, Rav Nachman taught us that, but from this Braita we see, it says clearly, what does it say? Shema mechitza. Chazru leheter narishoin. You go back to the original heter. It sounds like whatever you're doing there before, you can continue doing. So the Gemara says, Kitu de Rav Nachman amazed itmar. Rav Nachman was saying, when you do it b'mezid, that will be an issue. When the Braita said, Chazru leheter narishoin, it was not talking about the cases of mezid. It's only going on the cases of shogig, oynis, or tos. But if you do it b'mezid, then midrabanan it's going to be also to carry there. Okay? Okay, we'll stop over here, but